Have you ever noticed that the more you grow, the more others around you start to feel uneasy? They won't always say it, but you'll feel it. The awkward silence when you speak with depth, the jokes masked as concern, the subtle judgment when you decide to walk a different path. Why does this happen? Because your transformation forces them to face what they've been avoiding: their comfort, their fear, their stagnation. Seneca once said, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live." But when you take that seriously, when you truly evolve, you stop fitting in. You become a mirror, a silent reminder to others of how far they haven't come. And that's when the world starts to resist you. Marcus Aurelius understood this well. He wrote, "The opinion of 10,000 men is of no value, if none of them know anything about the subject." When your mind becomes clear, independent, unshakable, you stop being influenced by noise. And the moment you stop needing approval, you become powerful, terrifyingly powerful, because nothing scares the world more than a person who can no longer be controlled. 1. The death of illusion. When you have no one to blame but yourself, there comes a moment in your inner growth journey where every external system you have ever believed in begins to crumble. No more fate. No more God will take care of it. No more. Everything happens for a reason. Just you. And the deepest question, so what am I going to do with my life now? Nietzsche once said, "God is dead." Not to provoke religion, not to declare the victory of atheism. He is talking about the death of illusion. The illusion that someone up above is watching, planning, arranging everything so that it will all work out in the end. Nietzsche pulled back that curtain and said, "No one is coming to save you. From now on, you have to be the one to write the meaning." At first, it's terrifying. It feels like you're floating through space with no gravity, no direction, no one in charge but you. But that very moment, if you're brave enough not to turn back, is where true freedom begins. Epictetus once said, "You are not responsible for the opinions of others, but you are responsible for your own." When you no longer make excuses, no longer blame circumstances, no longer hide behind plans from the universe, then the truth is very clear. Every choice you make is a brick that builds who you are. Marcus Aurelius, even as an emperor, did not allow himself to shirk his responsibilities. He wrote in his Meditations, "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them." He doesn't blame fate, doesn't blame others, doesn't complain. He turned inside, and there he found something no one could take away: spiritual sovereignty. When you kill the illusion, you bury with it all excuses. You no longer say, "I can't because of my parents. I don't dare because society doesn't allow it. I don't do it because I'm afraid of failure." Are not. Now, you are in charge. No more salvation from the outside. No more comfort from fate. Only choice. And that choice requires you to stand firm in a world full of chaos. Not to be swept away. Not to live like a puppet. Stoicism teaches that freedom is the only worthy goal in life. But that freedom doesn't come from being able to do whatever you want. It comes from being responsible for yourself, even if that means pain. Maturity is when you stop looking for places to blame and start asking, how can I become stronger from this? If you have reached this point where the truth no longer scares you, but awakens you, then you have begun to build an unconquerable mind, an unmanageable will, a character that others cannot understand, and therefore they fear you. 2. Becoming an Ubermensch, the one who defines himself. When you have killed the illusion, when you no longer seek salvation from outside, when you accept the fact that all meaning in life is created by you, then you are standing at a big threshold. Nietzsche called the person who crosses this threshold Ubermensch, the overman, not a superhero, not a perfect person, but a person who has surpassed himself and created his own set of values, not borrowed from the crowd. Ubermensch do not live by shoulds. They live by worth living. They don't ask, am I allowed? They ask, is this worthy of the person I am becoming? Marcus Aurelius. Despite being emperor of the entire Roman Empire, spent every day questioning himself. He wrote, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Don't debate morality, just act. Don't wait for permission. Be true to what you know is right, even if no one understands you, even if everyone turns their backs. And that is what the Ubermensch has in common with the Stoic philosophy. Neither seeks recognition. Seneca say, a man is not unhappy because of circumstances, but because he does not know how to deal with them. Ubermensch are not defined by their circumstances. They redefine their circumstances by their own inner strength. You may have been there. A moment when you stood alone. No one supported you. No one agreed with you, but you still chose not to betray yourself. That is the beginning of the Ubermensch in you. Epictetus say, know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly. No need to pretend. No need to wear a mask. An Ubermensch is someone who dares to be true. Even if that truth makes others uncomfortable, they don't aim for normal. They don't choose safe. They choose to be honest and strong, even if it means being shunned. In the modern world, where everything has a standard, people who live by their own set of values are seen as eccentric, but they are the ones who change the game. They don't blend into the world. They reshape the world, starting with themselves. And what about you? Will you continue to be someone's shadow? Or are you ready to become someone that no one can control because you don't live by consensus, but by will and clear awareness? If the answer is, I'm ready, then remember this. The moment you choose to redefine yourself, society will turn against you because you no longer need it to survive. And that's when you start to get dangerous. 3. Why your growth scare others. There is a truth that few people dare to say. When you begin to truly change, when you stop reacting out of habit and start thinking before you react, then you become a mirror. And that mirror makes many people dare not look. They are uncomfortable, not because you did something wrong, but because you did something right deeply and decisively. You became clear. You stopped seeking approval. You stopped living to please the crowd. And that scares them. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, if you are distressed by anything external, The pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. When you realize you have control over your thoughts, are no longer manipulated by temporary emotions, you are no longer dominated by the outside world, you become a threat. Think about a real-life situation. You used to have a group of friends. Everything was fine. Until you started reading, exercising, meditating, avoiding small talk, stopping, gossiping. They don't see you as friendly as they used to. But you are not becoming cold. You are just awakening. Epictetus makes this clear. Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. And it is that freedom, in thought, in action, in speech, that makes you so incomprehensible to the majority. Spiritual growth is not a gentle light. It is a fire that burns away the old, weak things in you. And when you come out of that fire, you are no longer the same person. You speak less, but every word you say has weight. You act less, but every action has purpose. Other people don't understand. They feel unsafe around you. Because you are no longer reflecting their fears, you are walking without approval. Seneca said, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you. Welcome those whom you are capable of improving." And when you truly understand that saying, you will no longer try to hold on to relationships that exist only for the sake of familiarity. You will choose solitude over mediocrity. Choose truth over comfort. Choose depth over surface noise. And that's why you make people uncomfortable. Not because you're wrong, but because you're not like them anymore. Because you're building something they're afraid to face. An independent, clear, unconquerable mind. 4. Caos. The furnace of the indomitable soul. You don't build a strong mind. When everything in life is going smoothly, you build it. When life pushes you to the bottom, when you lose your way, when you have no one left to call, when you look up and realize no one is coming to save you, that moment is not the end. It is the beginning. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it." With a strong mind, everything thrown at you, heartache, failure, betrayal, doesn't break you. It becomes fuel. You don't get burned. You become the fire. Imagine someone who has just experienced a great loss. Loss of job. Loss of loved ones. Loss of meaning in life. They have two choices. One is to sink. Two is to use that pain to transform. Seneca said, "Fire tests gold. Suffering tests brave men." No one grows from comfort. You only grow when you are challenged to the core. Epictetus also taught his students, difficulties show what men are. What does it mean? It means that adversity does not make the man, but it reveals who you really are. And if you have the courage to face it, if you don't run away, if you can sit in the chaos without despair, then you are building an invisible quality, an unbreakable core. Someone asked, "How do I know I'm growing up?" The answer is not in the amount of money you make, nor in the compliments you receive. It lies in the ability to stand firm in chaos, without losing inner peace. And don't get me wrong, true strength is not about pretending to be strong. It's not about faking a smile while your heart is breaking. Strength is when you acknowledge the pain, accept it, and move through it without losing yourself. The Stoics don't teach you to avoid your emotions. They teach you to stand firmly inside your emotions and not let them control you. That's why Marcus Aurelius wrote every day. He didn't write to show off. He wrote to keep himself from being swept away by the whims of human nature. In a world full of chaos and injustice, and you can do the same. You don't have to know all the answers. You just have to not give up. Every time you fail and don't give up, every time you fall and get back up, you are engraving a line in your mind. I am not easily subdued. Chaos is not the enemy. He was a harsh teacher. But faire. If you dare to learn, it will give you the greatest gift, inner strength. 5. The price of solitude, why the strongest minds are lonely. There is one thing that no one tells you. When you start your journey to becoming the best version of yourself, that you will become more and more lonely, not because you want to, but because the world doesn't know what to do with someone who doesn't live up to its expectations. When you start thinking clearly, when you stop engaging in meaningless talk, when you reject half-baked values, you will realize that you are walking alone. Nietzsche understood this better than anyone. He wrote, "The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. You have to fight, not with other people, but with the urge to fit in, to be accepted, to not be seen as stranger. But if you want to truly own yourself, you have to dare to make a trade-off. And the first price is loneliness." Marcus Aurelius once recorded, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." He was an emperor, but he sought inner peace because he understood that the truth is not in the crowd. It is within oneself, and to reach it, you have to learn to be alone, without panic, without applause, without anyone's validation of your existence. Seneca was no exception. Even as a politician among the powerful, he wrote, "If you are everywhere, you are nowhere." What does it mean? If you keep running after the outside world, you will lose your inner support. And that is something a strong mind never accepts. Look at real life. Have you ever changed? Started living more deeply, more meaningfully, and gradually felt the distance between you and your ex getting farther and farther? You no longer feel like you belong in meaningless drinking parties. You no longer feel interested in trivial conversations. You begin to value silence. And in that silence, you hear your true voice. But then you start to feel empty. No one calls to hang out anymore. No one understands what you're saying. You become different. And sometimes you feel isolated. But make no mistake, loneliness is not a sign of error. It is the price of truth. It is the price of freedom. Epictetus once said, "Only the educated are free." And the education he talks about here doesn't come from school. It comes from the experience of solitude that you don't run away from. You can lose a lot when you become strong. Relationships that become routine, laughter that is no longer genuine, people who used to be close to you but no longer understand you. You will be labeled all kinds of things: cold, arrogant, unapproachable. But you know what? That's the price you pay for being strong. A strong mind is not born in a crowd. It is forged in silence, in space, in nights when no one understands you but yourself. And in that, you are no longer dependent. You no longer need to be recognized. You just need to be true to yourself. So, if you find yourself lonely today, don't turn away. Know this: you are not lost. You are just going further than those who stopped earlier than you. 6. The final price and reward. Trading everything to have yourself. Want to be unstoppable. Do you want to have a strong mind before any storm? Want to walk into a room and not say a word, but still make your presence felt? So, brace yourself, because there will be a price to pay. No one tells you this, that in order to have yourself, you will have to lose a lot of things. You will lose relationships that exist only because of habit. You will lose the ability to deny the truth. You will lose the ability to pretend. And most of all, you will lose the old version that wanted to be loved with lies. Seneca once wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself. Without challenges, you don't know who you are. But when you walk through the fire, when you trade comfort for truth, you are no longer living half-heartedly. You live life to the fullest." Marcus Aurelius said, "It is not death that a man should fear, but never beginning to live." Don't fear the ending. Fear never having really begun. Start living with clarity. Start living without pretense. Start living without permission. And Epictetus, who lived his entire life as a slave, was the one who understood this truth best. He said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won not by chance, but by choice." Freedom doesn't come from luck. It comes from the choices you dare to make. Even if it means walking alone, you will lose the applause. You will lose the approving glances from the crowd. You will lose the security that comes from doing the right thing by the book. But in return, you get what the world is desperately searching for: consistency, peace, truth. You will no longer be caught up in sensational news, no longer be manipulated by compliments or criticism, no longer compare yourself to anyone, because finally, you got yourself. People often say, being yourself is the easiest thing. Not true. Being yourself is one of the most difficult journeys, because it requires you to let go of all pretense. Give up conformity. Give up the masks you've worn for so long. But once you have dared to go all the way, no one, no circumstance, can take back what you have become. You are no longer a product of your past. You are the one who rewrites your future with your own will. And then, you don't just become powerful. You become a threat to mediocrity. Not because you want to fight against anyone, but because you are no longer controlled by anyone. You traded solitude for truth. You gave up comfort to gain freedom, and you dared to trade the outside world to create an inner world that no one could destroy. 7. Silent rebellion. Why the world hates freethinkers. The world is not afraid of loud people. It is not afraid of angry, rebellious people. The world fears the most are those who are quiet but see through everything. People who don't need to shout, don't need to prove, don't need anyone's recognition. Just the fact that they think independently is a threat. You might think, why do I just want to live up to my values, but make other people so uncomfortable? The answer lies in an underlying law. Individual freedom makes collective mediocrity feel threatened. Nietzsche called it collective mediocrity, the mediocrity of the majority, legitimized by applause, by trends, by social norms. You live your own life, and suddenly you become a thorn in the side of those who don't dare to do so. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The opinion of 0 men is of no value, if none of them know anything about the subject." What does it mean? That is to say, the crowd does not represent the truth. The crowd represents only numbers, and quantity does not create intelligence. Seneca also warns, "It is the power of the mind to be unconquerable." But that power makes the world uncomfortable, because the world likes you to be dependent, likes you to need guidance, likes you to conform. The more independent you are, the more dangerous you are to systems that rely on conformity. Imagine this. You refuse to engage in trivial conversations. You stop believing in pre-made standards. You no longer crave to be seen. And then you realize, a lot of people who used to call you friends start turning their backs on you, not because you're wrong, but because you're not like them anymore. You become living proof that it is possible to live differently, and they are not brave enough to do so. That's why they will fight you, not with swords, but with sarcastic eyes, with meaningful words. Do you think you are better than others? You live a harsh life. You are not the same anymore. Epictetus once said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." To be different, you have to be willing to be misunderstood. You have to be willing to be labeled. You have to be willing to be weird. But that's not a bad thing. It's a sign that you're breaking free from the herd mentality, and you need to know this. Resistance is not an obstacle. It is the natural reaction of a system that you have shaken. The more steadfast in thought, the more calm in action, the more you highlight the insecurity of the majority, and so you get attacked. But you must not back down, because if you back down, you fall back into the golden cage, built of consensus and false praise. But if you stand firm, even in silence, you are still a revolution. A clear mind is a power that makes the world afraid, because it doesn't need to be obeyed. It doesn't need to make noise. It just needs to exist consciously. And that was enough to create fear. If you've listened this far, you're not normal, because most people will leave when the truth starts to hurt. When the words stop coaxing and start waking them up, but you stay silent and maybe starting to look at yourself. You see, building a strong mind is not an easy journey. It is lonely. It is silent. It makes you a stranger in the world you once called yours. But from there, you begin to walk as a free man. No need to ask permission. No need to be understood. Just to be yourself, clearly and completely. Marcus Aurelius reminded, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And today, you are learning how to defend your thoughts like a strong fortress. No one is allowed in if they bring negativity, jealousy, or chaos. Remember, your mind is your temple. Don't let it be polluted by the fears of others, by collective mediocrity, by expectations that don't belong to you. If what you heard today touches something inside you, let it be more than just a passing emotion. Turn it into action, into commitment, into a way of life. Because from now on, you are no longer a victim of circumstances. You are the one who redefines circumstances with your own strength. And if you feel a change beginning, remember, you are not on the wrong path. You are just going further, where most dare not go. Leave a truth in the comments that you're afraid to say, something that makes you feel alone, but is the truest part of you, because that is the first step in building a mind that no one can break. See you in the next video. But remember, the most powerful journey always starts from within.